Good evening, everyone. We are on to the 16th episode of Book of Hours, our first YouTube playthrough, and I believe this is our first Numa. Now, Numa is a special occasion. For those of you who have not played Book of Hours before, let's do a quick description of the season. Numa, the shortest season, labyrinth season, when the year loses its way, when time is a river and memory a winged bird. In Numa, oddities ripen in the gardens of the Isle, unexpected visitors arrive, memory departs. When Numa ends, all memories will vanish with it, even persistent ones. So this is... I don't know, I think this probably was always intended, but I remember I used to like hoarding a lot of the persistent memories. And I also remember very specifically in one of the patches when they say persistent memories go away at the end of Numa. So I sort of knew that I wasn't going to be able to hoard memories anymore, but that's fine. We have events, so a matter of what moves in the mist, drawing a new Numa incident, and also yearly stipend. The yearly stipend from St. Ronwin's has arrived, along with the usual rather sniffy reminder that I should spend it wisely. But mist and silence. The doors open, the fire is cold, the shapes at the tables hunched and quiet. Dressed in furs and dark feathers, Mist presses against the walls and strokes the flagstones with its fingers. A drum taps an irregular rhythm somewhere beneath the inn. Numa. Mist and silence. The house is quiet. The signs above the door are written in a language even I cannot read. No one comes in to answer my knocking. Numa. So in this case, because the rectory is still locked, there's not a whole lot to work with on that one. The telegraph line crackles, the mist surges and retreats. From far away, it might be the hills above the village. I hear the postmistress's voice crying out, imprecations and lamentations in the Cornish tongue, but there is no sign of her here. Numa. And the smithy fire still glows, but though through the window I see a gaunt eyeless shape working the bellows. There is no sign of Denzel, and I know better than to interrupt this visitor. Numa. So let's start by seeing what the season brings. Alright, so we have got the matter of the feasting few. In Numa, visitors will be concerned with questions of appetite or blood and of their attendant dangers. Pneumatic visitors will have an interest in grail mysteries. Their needs will usually be more exacting than visitors who come during more traditional seasons. So the £1 note is very welcome here, although we won't be using it during Numa. Okay, so I'm going to see what the deal is with Professor Rowena Hengrest. For many years, under many names, Rowena has done, learnt, or eaten many things she really shouldn't have, but for many years, under many names, she served as the protectress of Hush House. Lady Rowena, for as long as there has been a Hush House, there have been stories of its enigmatic protectress. So she is looking for 7 winter or 7 grail. We know in the case of a matter of the feasting few, it's going to be grail. And then she understands Frisian, as do I, Greek, and also understands Kernewek Henevek. So I do have a little bit of an option here. First of all, I'd like to take a look at the different texts that I have. Oops. Because at the moment, it doesn't really feel like I have any... Well, the Gemini had 2. But I do also have the option here that I could... I could try and learn a language from her instead. I think I'm going to try... Conversation with Rowena. I am here, probably. If there's an incident card active, you can discuss it, or just leave the slot empty and offer a consultation. Well, what about tutoring Kernewek Henevek? My visitor can teach me the rudiments of this forgotten language. After tutoring you, the visitor will leave, even if they arrived on other business. And while I do that, this is a risky move here, but if you want, you can actually try something. You could try putting your element of the soul in. Uncanny labors, the inn is crowded with Numa's heralds and pilgrims. They will be gone by morning. Until then, I could offer my services for payment. I might regret it. If I tried to get a more advanced option, that's not happening here. So we will do our uncanny labors. That's going to tie me up for 6 minutes. Now with the Noom Broom, I get Knock, Moon, Rose, or Winter. Now this can't be used to open up any of the rooms because we've already... we can't hire anybody. The other option would be I can try and use this to read certain text. So for instance, Traveling at Night Volume 3, I would be able to read. The catch is I would need to make sure that I commit whatever memory I get directly after reading. So it's something of a risk to do that. Although in this case here, I do sort of feel that with a 4 knock, I'm not really facing that big of a threat. I could use this as some kind of an input to crafting as well, but I'm trying to think what I would want to craft with the Knock, Moon, or Rose. Right now, it does actually feel like a real shame to be wasting the season. Sorry, just taking a second here to see what my options are. So yeah, the crossing to noon I would feel pretty scared about, just because even though I might be able to put together enough to make it happen, the question is what happens if I have more than one memory that comes out of this. Okay, so these are the ones that I can collect. I don't know if they're anything different. I don't think the descriptions are all that different. Take a long walk along the ocean side. If I know what to look for, I might find something that the ocean is forsaken. I don't actually think there's that much in terms of collecting that I can do here in terms of Numa. But I am gonna do the risky move of trying to read Traveling at Night Volume 3, assuming that I can combine the relevant aspects. And again, the logic here is that it's I should only be getting one of the memory. Well, okay. So then the question would be, what if I wind up with Desires and Dissolution? Well, you know what? Let's see what happens. I am a match for this book. Enough knock to match Mystery Knock. And right now, I am just going to sit and wait for everything. Because if I suddenly find out that I do need to do an upgrade and I'm not able to use one of the the relevant elements of the soul, that's bad for me. So I'm just gonna take it easy. It may mean that I'm not able to do as much collecting as I would have wanted, but we have books that I can catalog in the worst case. Now again, this isn't necessarily how I would normally work with a Numa, but most of my collection options are just simply not there, so I'm making the most of the season while I can. Traveling at Night Volume 3, The Annotated Dream Journals of Christopher Alopoli, sometimes called the only readable occultist, literate, entertaining, bewildering. So kind of half of the day is already taken up doing this, but I can charge in pretty quickly for the remaining tasks. Alopoli's disquisitions on fire and the unburnt god are interrupted by passages of distractingly erotic poetry addressed to Baldemera. Still in morning, the third hour, when the office of terce once was sung. Watch as the day opens like a door. To reach the stag door, I believe that all you really need is to want something enough, but I've never wanted anything that much, except of course Baldemera, and I'm very much afraid that the knot in the story is this. What Baldemera wants is the stag door. But here's something I learned in Persia. Perhaps it'll teach you what you want. There is a letter somewhere inside the game that talks a little bit more about the events surrounding those comments, but... Okay, so we've got a pattern out of there, which is good, and door and wall, so this is a very straightforward, this is something very straightforward for us to work with. So again, I'm stuck in a case where, well, here's what I'll do. These ones seem to be, this is like a nice stack of similar text. Let's move the papers as well. This was foresight. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. So use this lesson to acquire a new skill. That means the rest of the day is sort of spent on various forms of collection. So we'll use the tryst for beachcombing. I don't think I have to match it, but here we go. Desires into solutions. I don't even think I have a rose skill yet. So furs and feathers will do the trick. Gather a Numa. Is it wise to walk on the moors in this season? Let's find out. So I probably should have read the description here. Something half buried in the sand. Oh, this is probably the Hush House key. So I will open the investigator's suitcase as well. I'll use the Arab for that, but I want to take advantage of the season. So if I'd been thinking, I should have maybe saved the FET for Crowcross Sands because I'm not going to be able to use it again, whereas I'm going to have two more trips to the moor. Another leaf in the Tree of Wisdom. So this is Sauromacastree and Nyctodromy. We'll take a quick peek and see what that gives me. So Nyctodromy is already spoken for. And that would give me a FET. So there's a prophecy of a shining city that mortals might build. There is a paradox that a city unbuilt can always be greater than one that exists. The bright arts teach this resolution, that the hours will always forbid the raising of that city, so that it will remain a great hope and a great traveling. I've learnt enough to puzzle out the books in this language, though it might be slow going. You can use and improve this like any other skill. Alright, Henevek. Kernwek Henevek, the oldest form of the language now called Cornish, or something even older. So forge and scale language, and it will fit into Bosk and Ithistry. Now I'm not 100% sure how... Okay, so the stars may be interesting here. A Smith's proverb in Brankrug, what starts in the sky ends in the earth. A story goes with it, that the village smith's anvil in the time of the DeWolfs was hatched from a meteor stone, and so every plow in the village knows something of the stars. Not many remember the story, but everyone remembers the proverb. It would probably count as Ithistry. So the alternative would be to commit it to The roots. A farmer's proverb in Brankrug: what starts in the roots ends in the sky. A superstition goes with it, that before a child's first birthday, you should leave her for a summer night sleeping in the roots of an apple tree to make sure that she grows tall and straight-backed. Not many pay heed to the superstition now, but everyone remembers the proverb. It would probably count as Bosk. Now, whist is clearly something that I want, and so I'm more likely to put this language into the Ithistry more than not. The biggest thing that I want to look at would be what is the winter task that I want to perform right now. And the best I could hope for would be to use Mr. Kill to unlock a room. And the room that I would have wanted to unlock would have been, well, there's a few, but in this case it's the Grand Ascent. And the funny thing about this one is that with a memory, I can only really bring him up to 4 until the snow comes. So again, I reserve the option. I am a little more reluctant to commit this to Ithistry just because this is something that can bring me down Bosk, which, you know, if I follow the guideline up here, it does say I might want to begin with Bosk, but this is my option for committing Whist if I need it. And again, at the current moment, there's nothing that this Whist will give me that I need, but that can change. Actually, I guess if I were to rest with the Whist, yeah, if I were to rest with the Whist and then use the memory, that would help. And then I suppose with the appropriate memory, I could read Lady Ava's Repose. So yeah, there's a couple of arguments for getting the Whist. I'll most likely get it sooner rather than later, but we'll see how the days go. All right, much is lost, but much remains. So we got an Earth sign, which is nice. That'll be going away right away, unfortunately. And here we've got the Hush House key. A familiar iron key has washed up on the beach. Heavy enough that it takes both hands to turn. Heavy enough to brain someone, though you'd need both hands for that too. Alright, so we will use the core at Crowcross Sands. Actually, I'll use the health at Crowcross Sands. Numa fog is thick here. And I don't know why I said I wouldn't be able to split it over both, because I'm clearly doing that now. I don't even know if I have another... Oh, there we go. And here we will... Something confiscated. Crack open the container. Delight in your discovery. So the door and wall is helpful. I think we're good for the knock text for now, but it does open up more opportunities down the road. Yeah, it really depends on what these books are. But we have plenty of time available to us to investigate them. Now, one of the consequences, I can say what the regret is here. So the inn is crowded with Numa's heralds and pilgrims. They will be gone by morning. Until then, I could offer my services for payment. I might regret it. The drawback here is that the exertions will leave me with a malady. So I'm down one of my elements of the soul. This is one of the reasons why I chose Arab here, because I already have an existing Arab. Now that does kind of hamper my efforts in terms of being able to buff Mrs. Kill. So I would like to get past the illness as soon as I can. But in this case here, just because I was sort of behind on the Spintria, and in this case I had an opportunity to learn a language as well, I figured that the trade-off was worth it. So overall, you know, we went in with a fairly weak hand for Numa, but I feel like we got a pretty reasonable amount done. And then because I will have this malady, it is going to mean that's a little bit easier for me to generate memories and also to be able to read and catalog the various books. So we'll see how it goes. Again, there's lots of different things that can happen, but I'm feeling a bit better about where we'll be finishing after this season. So. Ross Craggan Whiskey, the favorite tipple of Sir David Green, 8th librarian of Hush House. So we'll put that in the pantry. This will have to do for now, I suppose. Night has fallen, dawn will come soon. So I'm not really worried about when this comes back, but I do want to make sure that I have my elements of the soul back for the... Alright, a tide-racked treasure. Bran Krug is said to lie in the bounds where the world ends. Odd creatures have made their dying way to the beach. And much is lost, but much remains. Scaptodon Fang. It is rare for the lionsmith to make scaptodons now, but they are difficult to kill and they live a very long time. Alright. Well, we'll put that in... I figure that's probably good inside the room with the dispensary. I kind of like how this is looking now with all of my different items. I don't know if I want to put the shell there. Maybe we can put the shell... moon and scale. What's a good moony desk? Alright, more world events. You know what, we'll put this in Christopher's Nook. Or Elopolis Nook, I believe is the name. Okay. 9 seconds before we're sorted here, and it is a sunny day, so this might be a day that I want to use Reverend Timothy. Afterwards, I don't remember what work I performed except in sense and sensations. Leaf mold, a rhythmic musical clicking like melodious castanets, soft blue flame like antique gaslight, and cold. I remember that where we went, it was cold. As my spirit sunk lower, a creaking fear passes softly into me, like something crawling through a window left carelessly open. Your Arab now has a malady. In this case, it's Westengrier. Westengrier is what early monks... Westengrier is what the early monks of St. Brendan's called it. That old green sickness, the raptness of desolation, the terror of the wastes, and it is upon me now. The wood, the wood, the wood! So we need 5 forge to cure this. This is actually quite difficult for us to do, although I'm kind of happy we've got the whiskey now. Silver Spintria, occult treasures are purchased with occult coins, Spintria. So silver Spintria are more valuable and usually display scenes of debauchery on their reverse side. So in total we now have a gold and an iron, so a total of 6. Okay, so one mission for today would be to find a way to get Mrs. Kill to get access to Reverend Timothy. So if I can get access to Reverend Timothy... Well, okay, actually there's two ways that I can look at this. Trying to get access to Reverend Timothy, we would use... If I have to... Oh no, actually this gives me a chance to try out... my theory on the locksmith's dream. Okay. Okay, so with Sky... Yeah, no, it's still... So this is actually slightly bad that I lost my Arab at the time that I did, because there's a few things that I can do with Mrs. Kill, but that's fine because... Oh, you know what? Because that's nectar, that's also going to make things hard for reading. I don't think I have a nectar desk. I was trying to get clever, and I think I actually just set myself up for a world of hurt. Because again, there is a nectar desk, but it's much deeper in the house. It's, I believe, up here. So originally I was going to use this to catalog everything, but I can't. Okay, well, the point still remains, though. So if I were to get Reverend Timothy, I could combine the sunny day or the... Yeah, we are going to talk with Mrs. Kill. So we'll use the Arab for that. Mrs. Kill's mood always improves when I drop by. If you don't choose a topic, Mrs. Kill will offer help as a friend. Now, let's think about how I would cure this. So if I need 5 forge, so we've got 2 from the foresight already. We get that from a memory. I don't think I can bring a tool to bed with me. In fact, I don't believe I've taken up a bed yet. But yeah, if I could bring in the tool, then the mortar and pestle would work. Now, the Ross Cragen whiskey, unfortunately, is only 1 forge rather than 2. It's the Lapsang Souchong. But we do have that here. Okay, so really what I'm looking for... Oh, and you know what? If I've got Anberane Lapidary... Okay, yes, we actually have everything we need to... We have everything we need to get out of the Western Grier. So... Oh, and this does accept forge. Okay, well, let's take a minute here. Yeah. So I am going to brew some tea. Unless there's I don't think there's any forge from some of these others. It's always worth to double check, but... I believe with the Dawn Lion... So the Dawn Lion coffee is tempting, but I believe... Yeah, that only gives me the 1, and I would need the 2 to back up. Yeah, okay. So let's, I am going to make this a little bit of a priority here. So let's start by making the tea. I guess we can make it in the kitchen. Oop. Aha! The kitchen range won't work. I actually need to use a fire, so... Alright, brew over the fire, bring water to the boil, permit the potential here to express itself. Alright, I don't believe I need to use an element of the soul to clear out the sickness. I do need to use an element of the soul to read the book with foresight, unless I want to try and get that from a conversation with Mrs. Kill, but I don't think that's important here. In fact, I'm going to be reading 2 books today. So let's say we use the FET. Well, if I use the FET, I actually have to use it at the right desk. You know what? I don't think we can use the FET in this case. Natan's desk. Alright, so... The hypothesis here is that this is Lantern. So I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. And then traveling at night... No, it was Ava's treasury that gave me the foresight. So for that, I will use core. And that we can use at Ava's desk. I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. Okay, so just restating the tasks for today. So we talk with Mrs. Kill about the Lantern memory, assuming I get it. Mrs. Kill stands ready to help. You always cheer me up, she says morosely. So we'll get to work on that right now. Mrs. Kill has seen more of the world than she usually lets on. Conversations with her yield the occasional surprise. From that, we will use her to bring in Reverend Timothy, and we will bring in Reverend Timothy to unlock the dimly lit chamber. So we have lots of books that we're going to be cataloging when the time comes. All right. Steam and scent both rise. It's ready. So Veiled Goddess Lapsang Suchong, a pot named for an enigmatic minor deity whose charge is the healing of burns. So we'll put that into the Keeper's Lodge, my current home. We'll serve a cup, pour out. Pour it out. And once we have the memory, we should be able to heal my Arab. So overall, I think that was worth it in terms of the coin. All right, fear. So I do want to keep an eye on what I might be able to do with my memories as well. But the focus for today has definitely been recovering elements of the soul and then working with what I've got. Is there someone en route to Hush House? MCO Constance Lee, Constable Oculate Minor Constance Lee. Don't get in her way. So she understands Aramaic, Greek. She does have Kilisimi, and she's interested in moon and sky. So we've got the Affair of the Forgivable Debt. Now, it is tempting to pick up another language because I can. We would be able to satisfy her request for the book, but maybe we will pick up Kilisimi because I believe that is one that we actually have a text or two in. Oh, could be wrong in that. One, okay. And the Wound Wounds is a... that's not going to be one I'm using right away, but still, wouldn't hurt to educate myself. Okay. So yeah, we got the foresight from Ava's treasury. I'm happy I remembered that. And then we used Natan's desk. And for Locksmith's Dream, yes, this was a revelation. Okay, so that's good to know for future. We'll talk with Connie Lee later, but the main focus now is going to be on getting better. So let's take our sickness. So we'll take the memory foresight. We will add Anbury and Lapdairy. We will add the tea. There we go. Cure my malady. I need warmth and brightness. I need warmth and brightness as I rest. You've supplied enough forge. So that's taking 3 minutes. And I don't know if I'll run to the end of the day, but I do at least want to get the Reverend Timothy business handled. So yeah, this would have been a time that I would have tried to upgrade Mrs. Kill to work through. But again, we can wait on that. So here we will talk with her about Revelation. I can discuss a memory with my assistant. This will use up the memory, but boost the assistant's abilities for the rest of the day. In theory, I could have used Mr. Kill to open up the old rectory as well, but in this case, you know, I preserve the commitment to the Tree of Wisdoms after I've read another book. And again, I'm not, this isn't going to be like the Twitch playthrough where I really resist putting stuff onto the Tree of Wisdoms, but I do think that we have a number of books that we're going to be opening, which means that it's nice to preserve some options once I've exhausted the skills that I have available to me. Basically, as long as there's something else for me to be doing, I don't have the same urgency to commit things to the Tree of Wisdoms. So that's sort of the logic behind what's going on there. Reverend Timothy is a hospitable soul, but Terence, his housekeeper, guards her employer fiercely. She doesn't want his innocent theological enthusiasms getting him in trouble with the new king's men. You need an introduction or a mutual acquaintance marked with lantern, knock, or sky, perhaps someone who shares his interests in poetry or theology. So that would be Mr. Kill, but Mrs. Kill comes along with a particularly enlightened day. A mutual acquaintance has induced Reverend Timothy, the rector, to invite me for tea. There may even be crumpets. There we go. Reverend Timothy's tea goes cold while he expostulates about post-restoration politics and theorizes about the pagan traditions of the miners. So, we will now use my Faust to bring him in. Reverend Timothy enjoys thoughtful conversation, prayer, and tea, and he'll offer his assistance in return for a 1 shilling donation to church funds. We do appreciate the contribution. So I'd love to talk with Connie Lee here, but we're going to get Reverend Timothy right away, so... There we go. Reverend Timothy, rector of Brandkrug, ordained by the Church of the Unconquered Sun, a learned man, blessed in the tally, the gate, and the light. So he gets 2 lantern and 1 knock, so we'll have a conversation with him about the weather. Talk about the weather more useful than one might expect, especially in Britain. And at this point, I really only have the health available to me, but that is something that I can use with scale. So let's just take a minute here and make sure that I don't have a scale text hiding somewhere for me to work with. Otherwise, there may be a bit of sense in trying. So the Tantra of Worms is tempting, right? We do have 2 scale here. So it's the 2 scale, then the 1 from the health, and then 1 from the tool. But we need 8, so we're only halfway there. But yeah, so with that in mind, I think let's find... I can't recall if it was the solar... It's actually the nocturnal ones that are the nicest. I think I'll try a baronial book. But I do want a catalog, so... This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's baronial period, roughly the 1500s to 1700s. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. Books from this period are only rarely contaminated. So the original plan to take advantage of my malady to catalog a bunch of books and get memories and such didn't turn out, but I'm not too fussed about it. We have also unlocked all of Brandkrug, which is rather nice. Let's take advantage of the weather while it lasts. So we will also use a mirror scope. So I can lend my assistants something to help, increasing their abilities. And we have The Queen's Turn, a 16th century translation of the Barrowchild's account of Lagia's turn, when Lagia, the queen unsated, was offered the opportunity to enter the service of the hours of the Triple Knot, as long as she repudiated her brother-lover Antios. Or is it? Yeah, Antios or Antios? One or the other, but too difficult for us to handle right now. So I think it's pretty clear what our next few tasks are going to be. I know we're at the 40-minute mark, but what I'll do is I will lock in Reverend Timothy for the... We don't need to keep talking with him. I'll lock him in for the dimly lit chamber, and then we'll talk with Constance Lee about a language, and then we can let that... maybe what I can do is I can let that run by while I'm working out my next steps at the start of Monday's episode. So this tool has boosted their aspects appropriately. So the dimly lit chamber. Van Loren's old protections hang heavy in the air here, clotting the air with shadows. I'll need counter-influences to unwind them. Alright, so as far as the summary is concerned, I don't want to spend too much more on this, but we're in good shape here. So I've got my malady cured. We should have that cured before the end of the day, so we'll have all the core, Arab Fet, health, so on and so forth. In terms of access to people inside of town, Mrs. Kill and Timothy are basically at a state where I can give them a full upgrade. Denzel, it's a little complicated because I don't yet have Shapt or Metal to be able to boost him, but then we also haven't had anything too stern as far as challenges requiring his full forge. I may want to take a look at scale here. With the miner they get 2 scale, with the tool they would get 3. Oh, you know what? Yeah. In spring, the local miners often travel to the Feast of Lights below. If one breaks his journey at the Sweet Bones, a shilling will buy his labor for a day. So 2 scale from fear and 1 from the... I'm going to need to recover my health, but that's... I think we're able to do that in time. Tuppence will buy me a hearty meal in a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. It is spring, and the landlady has served me a slice of her stargazy pie, with the pilchard heads poking cheekily through the hot crust. Okay, so we're going to talk with them about fear, so that's going to bring it up to 4. But yeah, so the idea here was with the 6, we're going to be able to open up this room as well. And then in terms of the next few days, we can open the web-snared room with Mrs. Kill. And then we can also, if we get a satisfaction, open up the overgrown kitchen garden. So in addition to the fact that I've got more books than my inventory will handle, we currently have 8 to catalog, and then all of the books that we'll be cataloging inside of the reading room. We've got a couple of rooms that we can open. And this is, again, the main reason why I didn't bother to worry about the... why I didn't really bother to worry about the whist right away. There are just simply other things that I can do, and being able to... So the main idea here is, after getting so many books and reading so many books, I'm going to have a really clear idea of what's at a higher level and what's at a lower level. And then I'm going to be able to sort of fill in whatever blanks there are. I would be astonished if at the end of all of this cataloging, if I was still short the elements of the soul that I needed. So I'll probably work out a strategy in terms of having, 2 winter, 2 whist, 2 Faust, 2 Arab, and then we really just need the 1 metal. But again, we'll see where the rest of that goes. Okay, but I am going to wrap it up for here. I don't want to make it another 5 minutes or so. I think it's pretty clear that I'm going to want to use the heart to boost up the miner's assistance. And the next few days will be a matter of cataloging the different books. So thank you for everybody for watching. I will try next week to be a little bit more on the ball on keeping the videos on time. I know nobody's specifically saying it has to be half an hour, but if I have a pattern of doing that, it would be nice to give people something, within that time range. But yeah, I will probably wind up recording these in a week, so there's going to be a bit of dust to shake off. But we're in reasonably good shape. I took the extra time here specifically so that I could idiot-proof the playthrough. But yeah, I hope you enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you Monday. Take care.